I think the most impressive change is that citizens in China are more and more concerned about climate change, and they are curious about what it is. And another is that in my field, I work on electricity market. The government and market regulators are also more and more concerned about this issue. Like in electricity market, for example, 3 or 4 years ago, people never talk about carbon emissions in electricity generation. And now they came to me and asked me, can you help us to calculate our carbon emissions, like the marginal emissions or marginal displacement of wind? The topic related to carbon emission in research or in the industry is also increasing. Honestly, I think most of these are due to government. People are less concerned about climate change before 2020, when President Xi announced that we are going to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. I think economists and policymakers are in some certain degrees of agreement that both are good and we should have both. For the emission trading scheme, it sets a total amount of emission that is allowed in the society. But the issue with this kind of policy is that the price is fluctuating and it's hard to control. Carbon taxes is another thing. It doesn't set the total limit of carbon emissions in this society, but it sets the prices or taxes. The government may use these taxation gains to subsidize renewable energy. But the problem is that the carbon reduction is not guaranteed. The increased prices from carbon taxes might pass through to consumers, and the total emission in the society will still remain the same. So the combination of the two policies might be the best way to tackle climate change. In terms of this policy implementation about climate change, China is quite late comparing to other countries. But China has its special political system. The policy has its nature of consistency. We always have some 5-year plans, and our climate policy are in those plans. So I think the advantage for China, or you can say achievement, is the consistency of our policy. If we say we will achieve carbon neutrality by 2060, we will. The biggest challenge is that we are still a developing country. We have some areas which are not rich. I think the priority for our country is still improving our social welfare. If we are going to achieve some climate change goals, it shouldn't substantially sacrifice our economic growth. The Rome is not built in one day. We are talking about carbon neutrality is a 40-year target. It's not like we are doing it and we are achieving it in 5 years. So the government, the country, need some long-term planning. Instead of some policies come from nowhere, then they try to implement it one day and then they change it to another policy another day. Government worldwide really should take this seriously. It's about the entire human beings. So I think politicians should stop using it, abusing it as a political tool in international negotiation. Those developed countries, if they say, okay, we are really concerned about climate change, then support us in terms of technology, in terms of funding. Not like in the international meetings and just accusing us for being the world's largest emitters. We have 1.3 billion people in this country. We have the right to survive and develop. I think government needs more communications and cooperation is always better than competition.